Hey, this is Robert Plank from robertplank.com, and today we're going to look at this thing called WordPress post snippets. So this is an easy way to reuse some repetitive code that you might want to use over and over again. For example, I have a blog right here called robertplank.com, and at the end of my blog posts, I like to have links or blurbs or things to different products. So you might have something like a different ad right here, or just a big link, or a link with some bullet points underneath of it, like a mini sales letter or an opt-in form or an affiliate link or whatever it is. But underneath my different posts, I like to have different links. And sometimes it's linking to this income machine site, sometimes it's linking to this graphic dashboard site, but I like to mix it up and I don't necessarily want to have the same exact link or the same exact code under each of my different posts, right? Because for that kind of thing, we'd use something like what we'd call a signature plugin. There are some free ones like that. I think the best one's called Post Signature. So the signature is where you'd have the same exact text under each and every one of your different blog posts. But what I want to do many times in my site is I want to be able to choose which signature in particular I want to have at the bottom of my different posts. So here's one of my posts right here. And at the bottom, what I've got is this bracket membership cube. And so what I do here is at the bottom of my different blog posts, every time I want to link to my membership cube offer, I don't have to go and grab the headline or redo it or anything like that. I can just use what's called this short code and put in this bracket membership cube bracket. And what that gives me is in every place in my WordPress site where I use this membership cube text and brackets, it will add this. It will add this link with the formatting and the centering and the exact wording and the URL that I want at the bottom of my different WordPress posts. So how do we do it? Well, we use this using a plugin called Post Snippets. And let me go to the area for post snippets. So if we go to settings, post snippets, this is a free plugin that I use on most of my sites. And as you can see, as I have here, I have the different titles of my snippets, and I make sure to always check that it's a short code. And then I just have the HTML code, like usually just like a link or a paragraph tag or something like that. So me personally, I'm just using them right now for quick ads at the bottom of blog posts, but we can literally put anything in here. We can put extra bullet points. We can put a video, a graphic, a block quote to make a box around it, anything like that. And to do this, well, it's a pretty simple process. We're going to add the Post Snippets plugin, which is free. And then we're going to just add our snippets and making sure to check the short code box. And just by doing that, we'll be able to drop in, for example, any place we have this short code for the Robert Plank Show. I have a link to my podcast. I have this webinar coming up. And so what's cool about this, for instance, is I have this one short code for when I have a live webinar training coming up. I can put this at the bottom of some of my blog posts. But when I edit this code right here in the post snippets settings area, it will now take into effect where I have these other short codes as well. So we just go to plugins, add new, and then once this comes up, we just search for the post snippets plugin, and then we're going to install that. And so now we can just have a snippet library of all these different things. So what I can do then is if I have my long blog posts, and this one happens to be talking about membership sites, I can just edit the post, and then I can go to my settings, post snippets. Okay, so settings, post snippets, if I can zoom out enough to find it. Post snippets. Okay. And then what I did is I just added a post snippet called membership cube, and then I added a h3 tag, what we call it, and a link and things like that. And I made sure, and this is the most important part, is to check this short code checkbox, because now you can use this short code anywhere you want. What's a short code? I'm glad you asked. If I go and edit my post here, and I already have my podcast information here. If I wanted to add a link to my membership cube product, say halfway through the post, I could just do that. And at the top here, there's this yellow post-it note. It says post snippets. I can click on that, and then I can just choose which post snippet I want to add in here. So I had one here for membership cube. Let's just insert that. Okay, and then we will update that, and see how the post looks for us. So now what we can see here is that now you start reading the post, and then boom, here's a link to jump to the membership cube training in case someone wants to just jump to that exact thing right there. I could go back to my post snippets and maybe I can put a box around it. So I'll say block quote. So the only drawback to post snippets plugin is that you need to know a little bit of HTML coding, things like how to make a link, how to make things center. But see how I kind of now I have a box drawn around this membership queue 3.0 little snippet. Okay, so then down below I've got the same thing, the post snippet, and you can see how I put the block quote or the box around that snippet, and now that appears everywhere that we place this. So let me go and let me show you how to make a new post snippet from scratch. So we're going to go to the very topmost site here. I've got this 3 activities that don't make money versus 3 activities that make money, and maybe I want to say I'm going to link to, see which of my products don't I link to. I'm going to link to my Webinar Crusher product, so I can click on Add New Snippet. Okay, and what it's done here is at the bottom, it's called this one Untitled. So I'll name this one Webinar Crusher, and then I will just link to webinarcrusher.com. Join our Webinar Crusher program today. Cool, that's our link. And then if you know a little bit about coding, I can make this open in a new window. If you know a little bit about coding, I can make this a heading 3. That way it's a little larger in size, but make very close attention so that we click on the shortcode checkbox. Now when I update that, now Webinar Crusher is in my list of shortcodes I can now use, but I haven't actually used it anywhere. So I can go back and edit this post, and I think I might have to refresh the post. So I'm going to edit my post here. And then now instead of having the link to that membership cube course that I had links to before, I want to link to Webinar Crusher instead. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to edit my blog post in the visual editor, take out that old shortcode, click on post snippets, and then drop in the Webinar Crusher shortcode right there. And then make sure we go in and update and refresh the site. So once again, you install the post snippets plugin, and then you go into the settings post snippets area, and then you create your snippet, making sure that you enable it to be a shortcode, and then you can edit or create a new post and click on the yellow post-it note and drop in whichever post snippets that you created. And I just noticed that we just edited the wrong post, right? We edited this episode 49. So let's see how that works. Cool. Here's our Join Our Webinar Crusher program today. So we actually have a few different shortcodes in our different posts. So we edited the wrong one. That's okay. We'll just close that tab, and we want to edit this episode 52. So we click on the post we want to edit. Once that's loaded, click on Edit Post, and once the Edit Post screen comes up, then we can just go and say after this first paragraph, click on Post Snippets, and let's see. In this one, we're talking about graphics, so I can just have a little commercial where I can click on the graphic dashboard, so I can pick and choose which of my offers I want to link to and do it at the perfect timing in the post. So I mentioned graphics, cool, now I have a link to my graphics offer. I mentioned webinars, cool, I'll have a link to my webinar offer. I click on update, and then once that's done, then we'll view the post. We can see how that turned out. So cool, now we have as the first part of it, and then boom, a link to graphic dashboard if they want to get to that point. And now there's one other thing about post snippets which I think that you'll find helpful, especially if you use a lot of repetitive code. And so here's what is that I have a membership site, and I have some of these tables, and I have tables where I want to have lots of different images, lots of links and things, and I want them to all be formatted just about the right way. So basically, without getting too crazy, I use a plugin called Templatize, and by the way, these shortcodes will pretty much work wherever you use them. They should work in your posts themselves and even in tables such as in Templatize. But if we edit this particular table, so this could just as easily be the contents of my post, but I have this table and I have this short code here, right? And here's what this is this is a post snippet. The name of the post snippet is this word pixeler, and what I want to do is I want to have an image right here, and I want it to link to the same exact name. So what I can basically do is I can pass in what we call parameters or arguments into these shortcodes. So in this particular website, I hope this won't be too crazy of coding to show you. So if we look at this image right here, right? This has this droid sans blue brunette uh, image right here, right? But it also is linking to this droids sans blue brunette pixel. So have you ever had that kind of situation where you wanted to have like a thumbnail image, or you wanted to have a link where the download, like the zip file, is the same name as the image or something like that? Well, you can use that in post snippets, because look at all this. I'd have to like copy this exact big long chunk of code and put it into every single thing in my table, making sure I didn't mess anything up. So I mean, the end result is this whole thing, this all this return false, window open, this image, all this crazy gobbledygook of code. See all this? All I had to put in was just this one little shortcode, this one little post snippet. So let me show you how I did that. So I created a post snippet right here, and I named it Pixlr, and I made sure to check shortcode for sure. And then this is where the variables come into play. Okay, so what you can do is you have these hard brackets, and then you have the name of the shortcode. And then if you want to pass in what they call variables, well, here we've passed in, this says image equals, and then in quotes what that image equals, and then font equals, and then the quotes what those are. So what we do is we create the post snippet. We name the title. This is the first part of the shortcode, and then we have these variables, and they don't explain it too obviously, but you just have the different names of your variables with a comma in between. So we say that what we want to do is have a post snippet, and we want to have it so that someone can type in Pixlr, and then they can do a space, and then they can say image equals, and then have some stuff in there, and then have a space, and then say fonts equals, and then have some stuff in there, and then we have a hard bracket to end that. So what this ends up doing is we have this Pixlr space image, and the thing in the image, and this is banners Oswald orange white 160 by 600, and then font Oswald. What this does is it kind of uses, and so what we do is we have, see, image is one of the variables, and then when we want to use that variable in our gobbledygook HTML code, we use a curly bracket image, and so the image that gets passed in just gets replaced in the final version right here. So we have all this crazy code here, right? But in here we say image equals, it's this. So this stuff in quotes after image equals becomes, or gets put in place of, the image in curly brackets. Okay, and then we have Pixlr font equals Oswald. So this Oswald, because it comes after font equals and is in quotes, we place it wherever font and font is installed. So let me, I guess, show you a new post snippet from scratch so you get the idea. I'll say add new snippet. And let's say that I'm going to have a download link. Okay, so I'll say download. And what I want to have in here is just the name of the download link. And what I will do is I will have an image, and I'll put this in my uploads folder. And I want to have, say, let me just type this out, how I would do one particular download link, right? I would have a download link, and I would say that, well, the link is called demo.png. Okay, this is going to be the graphic, and I want to link to WP content uploads demo.zip. Okay, so look at what we've done here. If you know any kind of HTML code, and even if you don't, this little part of it is just an image we're placing on a web page, and then this part around it is a link to a zip file. So we could easily have some kind of like a thumbnail image and say, well, here's this thing I want you to download, and here's a graphic which shows you a representation of what you're about to download. So we could do this all over the place, right? But we'd have to copy this whole thing, edit this, edit this. Wouldn't it be easier if we could just have a simple short code to do it? Well, we can. What we can do is we can say, well, I'm always going to name my files ending in .zip when I want them to download them. And I'm always going to name my graphics in .png. They might be different sizes, but that's okay. But I'm going to name all my graphics ending in .png and my zip files ending in .zip. So we can say, because we've added a name here as one of the variables, we can say this will be curly bracket name curly bracket, and then here this will be curly bracket name curly bracket. Update that snippet, and now allow me to edit just this web page we're looking at here, just to keep things simple. Okay, so we're editing our web page, and I want to have a download link, so I can click on the post snippets, and then I can put in my picture text, or my download. So here we go. I'm ready to put in my shortcode or my snippet for a download link. So I'll put in the file name of it without the .png or the .zip, or I can say I'm going to have this called like plugin.zip, and I insert this. And then cool. So now it's going to insert a post snippet. It's going to insert the download snippet that I have created. And it's going to pass as the variable called name. It's going to pass the value called plugin. So this is going to be a broken image because we don't actually have a plugin.png and a plugin.zip. But if I hover over this, see how it's linking to a plugin.zip? And then if I actually had a graphic here, this would be a plugin.jpg. And I'm going to look at the end result here. And actually, maybe I'll just view the source. Okay. So if we get to this one part in the web page, so you see how this just plugged in, pun intended, plugged in the name we passed into the post snippet. We said we created a post snippet named download, and it will take in one variable called name. It will plug name into, see all this link and uploads, it'll plug the name into this .zip, and then it'll plug the name, the same exact name, into this .png. So then when we look at what the end result is, we said we had a download name equals plugin, and so it said this is all the same, this is all the same, this is all the same. Boom. Here's the name right here we're going to put in for plugin. This is all the same, all the same, all the same. Boom. Here's the name we're going to put in for this is going to put in plugin for their name here as well. So we can have this as crazy or as simple as you want. For example, I just used post snippets to link to my other offers, but then it's also great for repetitive kinds of code. Like if I want to have a graphic and a link somewhere, and the graphic and the link is named the same thing, or I have, or something I could do as well. And let me clean up this. One thing as we're winding down this quick tutorial is I want to create, for example, let's say I wanted to make a an offsite link, okay? And I wanted to have a pop-up that said, well, are you sure that you want to leave this site? So here's what I can do is I can add a new snippet, and I'll call this offsite, and I'll name the variable URL. I'll make sure it's a shortcode, and then I'll have a link to, for example, if you know HTML coding at all, if this is a link to google.com, okay? So what do we want to do? Well, we want to plug in the URL that was given to us. So we can just take this URL here and go URL, boom. And then I guess you want to have a title in the link as well. So we'll just have, let's say, comma, title. And then in place of google.com, we'll just say title. Now you might be thinking, well, who cares? It's just an offsite link to another site. We can add in a little bit of JavaScript here. And we can say on click, and I can say return, I believe this is return confirm, and we'll say, actually let me zoom in for you a little bit. Let's see what I'm doing. All right, so we're going to say, get this a little bigger. We're going to say return confirm, single quote, are you sure you want to leave this site, question mark, and then end double quote, and then end the, there we go. Okay, so this is a little bit of JavaScript. We have a HTML link, and we added this on click equals, and then a JavaScript function is this confirm, where we can pop up a box saying, are you sure you want to leave? And they can click yes or no. Now, if they click yes, it will let them through. If they click no, it will stop them in their tracks. So let's see what this looks like. And by the way, you don't have to necessarily know HTML or JavaScript. You just can get the snippet, and then you just add your variables and then replace in the things. You don't even have to understand how to create that snippet from scratch. Just place in the variables right in there. So I'm going to edit my page again, and I'm going to refresh just to make sure I have access to the post snippet that I want to use. So I can scroll over here, and I'll say, click on the yellow post-it note, and we have now this new offsite post snippet. And I can say, well, I'm going to send someone to Google, and I'm going to name, how about let's send them to Facebook, okay? Log into Facebook. I'll insert that. And you know what? If I later on decided I wanted to have this open in a new window, I would just go back and change the post snippet. But let's see what we're dealing with first of all. So I'll update that page, and then I'll view that page. So now we have this log into Facebook. It links to facebook.com. I click on it, and it says, are you sure you want to leave the site? Well, if I say no, well, cool. I stay on the site. If I click on it and I say yes, now I can go onto facebook.com. Super cool. Now, if I wanted to say, well, I want this to open into a new tab, no problem at all. We'll just go back to our post snippets, and we'll just go and edit just that HTML code. And if you know any HTML coding, it is target equals double quote underscore blank double quote again. And once again, you don't need to know coding, but if you can just show someone the original, and they'll tell you or show you where to drop in that different little thing. So now the short code will update for us. And if I view the site again, now what I'll do is I go to log into Facebook. Sure you want to leave the site? No. But if I do want to leave the site, cool. Now it opens up in a new tab for me. So that's pretty freaking awesome. So that's the post snippets for you. And like the most important part, of course, is to install the free post snippets plugin. And then you'll go into the post snippets settings area, and you'll create the title of your short code, and then you'll make sure to check the box making sure it's a short code, and then you'll put in whatever HTML that you want to put in: image, graphic, pop-up, headline, link, bullet point, video, literally anything. And that's really great for linking to, for example, different offers and things like that in your site. And then later on, if you want to get really fancy, especially for things like membership sites where you might have a lot of repetitive code, you might always need to embed an audio player somewhere, and you always have to make sure to set it with all kinds of special settings. Well, now you can just use a simple post snippet by having the area for variables. And the most important thing about the variables part of it is that you separate your different variables with a comma. So for example, you saw, actually I'll just show you again, you saw how we had the URL variable, comma, the title variable, and so now post snippets knows to look for those variables, and then in the actual completed HTML code, we just use curly braces to plug those variables right in. So if that last section there about using variables with post snippets, if that was too far over your head, that's just fine. You can use it the simple way and just use it to link to your different offers. But when you use variables as well, it adds a cool little twist. And for me, it's a very important time-saving component if I want to use lots of repetitive code on my site, because once it's all set up and once it's all linked together, I can just go and edit just that one post snippet, and then it applies everywhere on my site. I'm Robert Plank from robertplank.com, and thanks for checking out WordPress post snippets with me. Have a great day.